pleasure this evening to present this beautiful book, Italian Masterpieces, that documents the activity of the Foundation for Italian Art and Culture. I think we are almost at the 20th anniversary of the foundation, because it was born in 2003, correct?
We have here the chairman of the foundation, Daniele. You remember? So maybe it was before. Maybe
in the book it's written established in New York City in 2003.
Okay.
Okay, so it's almost 20 years of really a great activity documented by this book, and I am very happy to have here the president, Daniele Bodini, and the chairman, and the president, Alain Elkann. I would like to ask Alain to speak about the idea of the foundation, how it was born, how you imagined the mission of FIAC, and how you decided to choose the people who are still working on this wonderful activity, a wonderful mission.
Thank you, Fabio. We're very grateful to the essay that you wrote in this catalog also. Before answering your question, I want to say just 2 or 3 words. I want to say thank you, first of all, to Daniele Bodini, who has been with us, with me since the very beginning. And as you asked, at that time, in 2002, 2003, I was consultant, I don't know how to say, a consigliere of the Minister of Culture, who at the time was Professor Urbani. And I went to see him and I said, we have to open more to United States. We have to do something better for the United States. And so Urbani and I, we thought that we could do foundation, but the foundation should be independent, shouldn't be, part of the ministry of the Italian state or something. So as I am a lifelong friend of Daniele Bodini, who is not only a friend, but he's a great entrepreneur. At the time he was an ambassador at the United Nations. I called Daniele and I said, would you like to come and meet Professor Urbani and have a talk with us? And we explained to Daniele, we would like to do this foundation. And Daniele, who is very capable and practical, and he said, okay, I'll do it. I am with you. And so he put together a board meeting, a board of people who sustain our activity since the beginning, and in the book you will see who they are. They are, I don't remember, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 members. Sadly, one of our founder members, Mrs. Kramer, has passed away, but we will announce in our coming meeting that luckily Francesca Bodini, who is Daniele's daughter, will be the first board member, and that belongs to a new generation of people, which is a great sign of vitality, and we were grateful for that, because she's taking her grandmother's seat, and which means that FIAC will go on for many, many years, hopefully. Now, so that's what happened. At the time, the superintendent, I think he was superintendent of the Roman museums, was Claudio Strinati, and we had permission from Claudio to bring to the United States sono dimenticato, Raphael's La Fornarina. And we took the Fornarina to New York. It was a great event. And Colin Bailey, who is one of our members, he's one of the most important members of our scientific committee, decided that it would be a great exhibition at the Free Collection. And that's how we started, you know. And we started an idea which obviously is not so original, but it's a bit our landmark, and it became the fil rouge of the foundation, which was to bring one masterpiece at the time. And in the Free Collection there is a beautiful room that is, you know, like embracing. Thank you for the telephones. And the Fornarina was there, and it was very successful. I think that after the Free Collection, it went to Houston, if I'm not wrong, and it started the real idea of the foundation, which was not to show only in the New York or Boston or Washington museums, but to bring masterpieces also in. I mean, the word peripheral is not very nice, because we can't say that Houston or that San Francisco or Los Angeles or Chicago, but we went to later on, for instance, with Leonardo drawings from Torino, from the Torino library. We went to Birmingham, Alabama. We brought a few paintings. We brought to museum in Cincinnati. Then we went to Portland, Oregon. Then we went to Fort Worth, Texas, and so on and so forth. So the idea was one masterpiece in New York or in Washington, you know, in one of the museums, and then around the United States, so that people, you know, especially in certain cities. I remember that Olivia da Ponte, who has been the person who really made this book, you know, she worked very hard, and we were in the middle of the COVID. I was in Tuscany, Daniele was somewhere in the country, Olivia was in Brooklyn, and but we on the phone, we know, we talked, we changed, we edited, because we wanted to do something, because we couldn't have an exhibition at the time, museums were closed. So we decided, why not to publish a book, which obviously is not a book that you can buy. It's a book that we give as a memory of the first 20 years, and in next 20 years we'll do another book, volume 2, but for the moment we did this, where we tell more or less the story of the foundation, where we tell what we did, who are the people who have contributed, and we also describe each one of the paintings. And Olivia did a great job, because each one of the paintings, including you, is described by professional art historians, people who had to do with the exhibition, and who know deeply the paintings. For instance, on the Fornarina there is an essay by Colin Bailey, and then you know, etc., etc., who is here with us tonight, and we're grateful.
Who is one of the honored, I think, of the FIAC.
Yeah, he's in the scientific board. Then another thing is that we wanted two main essays. As the foundation has the purpose to link Italy and America, America and Italy, we asked two prominent art historians, one was Keith Christiansen and the other is Salvatore Settis, to write two main essays for this book. And so this is one thing, you know, to bring masterpieces. And in our endowment, in our rules, we also can restore the paintings. I take an example. In Venice, for instance, there is a painting by Giorgione called La Vecchia. La Vecchia was not in great shape, and I think that l'Opificio delle Pietre Dure in Florence has restored the painting. So the painting went to Cincinnati, if I'm not wrong, and then to San Francisco, and perfectly restored, went back to the Accademia in Venice. So this is also the purpose of the foundation. But tonight, we have the chance to have with us the winner of the FIAC award. What is the FIAC award? It's an award that is given every year. Normally, I mean, we didn't do it during the COVID. We normally give it to an American person and to an Italian person who had specific merits in their own place and also were open to the exchange. No? And I think we started with Keith Christiansen and Professor Paolucci, if I'm not wrong, among the first winners. But there is a list of very prominent people, right? Yes, Antonio Paolucci, Keith Christiansen, then we had David Alan Brown from the Washington, from the National Gallery, then we, with Professor Settis for Italy, then we had Philippe de Montebello, who at the time was the president of the MoMA, of the Metropolitan, and Cristina Cidini, who was the superintendent in Florence, and so on. We had Anne Poulet, we had Nicola Spinoza, we had Glenn Laurie of the MoMA, we had Colin Bailey, and then one year, in 2014, we had Thomas Campbell, you know, who was at the time the director of the Metropolitan and who's now in San Francisco, but we didn't have an Italian at that time. Then we did something strange. We gave the award as an American to an Italian who's Davide Gasparotto, because he's in charge of the old masters at Getty, and Eike Schmidt, who is German, but he is the director of the Uffizi in Florence. And another time we did another thing like this, that we gave the award for as an Italian to Gabriele Finaldi, who is now the director of the National Gallery in London and was at the Prado before in Madrid, and to Richard Armstrong, who is the director of the Guggenheim. So you see, we try to mix talents, directors, art historians, people who have some input. So this year, as we like to be fair, you know, to follow the rules, we need an Italian, right? As we had Campbell as the only American, to reopen the, you know, the season, because now the museums are open in Italy and here, and life is back finally. We decided to give the award to an Italian, and there was no doubt, right? Because one of the big things that happened in Italy was the rebirth of Pompeii. And this rebirth is due to our friend Professor Massimo Osanna, who we have the honor to have with us tonight. We will officially give him the award on Wednesday in the usual ceremony that we do in the library of the Racquet Club. And Massimo Osanna is also today the Director General of all the Italian museums. What a job, you know. How many museums we have in Italy? Okay, so you know, he only has 480 museums. So I think that I mean, there was no choice possible. So obviously the scientific committee was very excited about this. Many people who have prominent positions in museums here in the United States love to meet Professor Osanna and to talk to him, because you know, I mean, he is the man of the Italian museums, and I don't think there is a figure like this in the United States, no, Colin, because the museums are private, with the exception of the National Gallery in Washington. But I mean, all these people. Somebody asked me, but how do you pick up the? I think, you know, I think museums, the museum world is not a club, but I mean, it's an achievement. And so some people who have studied history of art or literature or other humanities who have learned by working also how to be managers, because they know how to combine the practical direction of a museum or of Pompeii or some, with the knowledge as art historians. And so they all more or less know each other all over the world, because there are many, many Italians or English directors in the United States. Now Italy has opened the museums to international directors. Some of them were directors of museums in the United States before. I think of the Bargello in Florence, I think of the Uffizi in Florence, I think wasn't in the United States, but he's Canadian, of the Pinacoteca di Brera, and so on. So, and the Museum of Capodimonte. In what? Capodimonte, yes. He was in Chicago, no, before, and now he is at the Museum of Capodimonte in Naples. So, Italy has opened doors to foreigners, and America has opened doors in the same way. So I say that through art, it's a family. It's there is no need of bridges or big things, because it's a natural flow of events, information, and so on and so forth. But you would say, so if it is so easy, why did you want to make a foundation? I asked to myself the question.
You are doing even my job.
Okay, ask me the question. No, because I just explained, then you will ask me what you want. I explained that, a small organization, very, very small, like FIAC, is, not ambitious. We are not in, we never made a publicity, we never made, big, but we focus on one project at a time. And if people like Colin, for instance, ask, I would very much like the Antea from Parmigianino, or the Schiava Turca from Parmigianino, we try to get it. So remembering that I worked at the Ministry of Culture, some of these people I knew, so we start helping the thing to happen. And this is still something that is going on today, right? We try to help connections and things, and then obviously we sometimes help with grants, money, or restoring pieces. It depends, paying some insurance or other things, and this is how we operate. And we are very grateful to the Italian fellows and the American, English, American, whatever they are, institutions, that they treat us very, very well. And I must say that when we came here in January to reopen, to pay courtesy visits to the American friends, they were so nice with me and with FIAC. We really became friends because we trust each other. And we have the same passion, obviously, which is for the Italian art. And in the same time, we have trust because we achieve things, sometimes cultural things, because the Schiava Turca, and for instance, another thing, the Cagnacci, who came from Brera, the Cleopatra. Yes. We did an interesting thing because it was here, the Brera was here, the Metropolitan had another Cagnacci, the Frick had a Cagnacci, so the American people were not so much aware of Cagnacci, and we opened a debate about this great artist, and then our painting went also to the museum in Cincinnati, and Olivia remembers well that we were prisoners in Cincinnati because it snowed so much that we couldn't come out, right, you remember? But it was fantastically organized and very, very nice. I just tell you a few things, but many things, many episodes are the story of these 20 years.
I think that it's a wonderful idea to have small exhibitions, very focused, but a small exhibition. In the same way we can speak about slow food, it's a sort of slow art. You need not to run from one room to another in a big exhibition, but we can focus on a single author, on a very well built group of paintings. So it's also a different perception out of consumerism, we could say, of art that is very beautiful, very educational too, and it's true that it can be really a change for some cities, for some communities. I was reading what the director of Portland Art Museum wrote in this book about La Donna Velata by Raffaello. He wrote, in Portland, the exhibition of the woman with the veil was a transformation. Not only did it give our community the opportunity to focus on one of the great works from the High Renaissance, but it also set the stage for a series of other extraordinary works to be highlighted, including etc., etc. So it's the community that changes and have a different perception also of what exists in its museums. It changes this delocalization of the works of art, changes the way people are looking at what they already know, maybe. But I was willing to ask you, how do you choose?
I asked the questions.
No.
No,
No, it's not your moment. No, you can ask, of course. But
I was laughing.
how do you choose? Because many of these work, which are in a way singular when they move, because they are extracted from a big museum, for instance, and they start traveling alone, or almost alone. Many of these works are about maybe female, or in any case, portrait of people alone. In a way, they are interrogating, asking something to the people that are looking at them. There are always some mystery in these paintings. How do you choose? I know the next one, but I will not spoil.
No, don't, please. It is a secret. Right.
But how did you choose?
But we already made some work in this room for the secret.
Yes, okay.
But we can't.
How did you make the choice of the previous ones? It's just your taste? It's a dialogue with the directors of the museum? It's the suggestions of the board? Because this is not a collection of heterogeneous paintings. There is a fil rouge.
You see, you're right. It is very bad what I'm going to say because, for instance, Massimo Zanna and Colin Bailey will be upset because, you know, I take an example. Sadly, people, when they go to the Louvre in Paris, they go because they want to see La Gioconda. Exactly. If they are in Berlin and they want to see the Egyptian museum, they go because there is the Nefertiti. So each museum, or most museums, have great masterpieces, but they have an icon. You know, they have one painting that people want to see. So even if these paintings are among many others, and sometimes the others are better than the one, you know, I understood that people like to see one thing. And as you said, clearly, they, you know, instead of visiting, you know, thousands of paintings, and then they said, oh, how beautiful, but they don't really remember. One painting they remember. And so we talked to Anne-Marie Poulet, I think, at the time, and Colin Bailey at the Frick collection, you know, how to put one painting, for instance, La Fornarina. With Colin, we did another experience, for instance, at the Morgan Library, and we did it with Davide Gasparotto at the Getty in LA, which was a fantastic painting by Pontormo. And at the Morgan Library, there's a sort of little room, like a chapel, you know, where one painting is perfect. If there were 6 paintings, you would be feeling, bulky and not. So you have the opportunity, it's true, you know, to concentrate on one painting. And I have to say that also this idea came from one of our awardee, Glenn Lowry. You know, Glenn Lowry is the director of the MoMA, and we couldn't help him. This is one of the failures of the FIAC, but he said the beginning of modern art is Piero della Francesca, right? The dream of my life here at the MoMA would be to have in a play one Piero della Francesca, La Madonna del Parto. So I said, why? He said, because, you know, it would be an icon, and it would symbolize the beginning of the modern and then contemporary art. So I spent hours in his office, in our office, to phone to the mayor of a little city in Tuscany called, I think it's called Montichiari, a name like this, where is La Madonna del Parto. And I said, listen, we will pay a trip for all the citizens to New York. Suddenly,
It's a very small city.
suddenly the Madonna del Parto will be in the center of the world, you know? And he said, listen, we didn't even send it to the Italian parliament when they asked it, so why should we send it to New York? Then I called him again, and I said, you know, it's so important for Italy, it would be I have to see with the Consiglio Comunale, you know, but I don't think we can do it. So, I mean, it was so long and difficult, and at the end of the day, he said, listen, no way that La Madonna moves, okay? But it doesn't matter. I mean, we are still friends with Glenn, even if this didn't happen, but it gave the idea of how much one painting can be symbolic also for a place in Italy, you know? I mean, for this village of Montichiari, probably to lose a Madonna. I said that it will be for a few months, you know? He said, and if people come here, how can they be without, you know? So we understood the importance of that. And you are right. I mean, maybe, you know, women are more important than anything else, but, you know, from the Madonnas of Antonello da Messina to the Schiavaturca di Parmigianino, they are very symbolic. And, you know, even The Economist, you know, the financial magazine, wrote a big article on La Schiavaturca at the Free Collection, you know, so one single painting. The New York Review of Books talked about that, you know, so one painting is like a novel, you know, it's like you take War and Peace of Tolstoy, it's one book, you know, he wrote many others, but we present that very book or that very painting. And you are right, to take it out, for instance, non la Schiavaturca, la Antea from Capodimonte. At the time there was Spinoza, who was the director of you know, I mean, it was very important to take it out, so that people maybe seeing that iconic painting, they decide that they should go to Naples, they should go to Capodimonte, and then if they are in Capodimonte, they may go to Pompeii. You know, I mean, it also gives the desire, and the fact that not only in America we go to small cities here and there, but also in Italy. You know, sometimes we take paintings from Parma. No, I mean, of course, Parma is very famous, but not so famous like Rome or Venice or Florence. So it, you know, people start thinking, in Parma why there is this, and therefore they learn that the Farnese, the collection, the museum, the city of Parma, and all that, right? So it is a cultural experience, and what I want to say that I am very happy tonight in New York, in this cultural institute, in front of people who devote their life to art and culture, to finally speak about paintings, where in a world where sadly we only speak about war, inflation, all kind of disasters that are making life heavy, and instead, we want to show that art is alive, that the world of art is alive, and that art is extremely important, for people. And it is such a pleasure to see people who are queuing just to go and see one painting, And so we are very happy to do this, and I am pleased to be able to say this in front of Massimo Zanna, because I believe, and I think that when we spoke, he shared, we have a common feeling that it's very important that Italy opens to the world, and especially to the United States, who are the largest Western country of the world, with all these museums, and people care about the museums. So we think this is quite interesting, and to make bridges, to see what I said at the beginning, Italian people in America, Gasparotto, for instance, or Eike Schmidt in Florence, or in Naples, a Frenchman in Naples who comes from America. It shows that the world is international, that culture is international, and that there are no frontiers, barriers, things like this, for this work of art. And we're very grateful to the works of art that Italy sends to, in this case, to America, because we're not the only ones. Sometimes in Italy people were too pretentious. They think there's only this. There are many other countries who have important art, in Spain, in Germany, in England, and so on and so forth. So it is good to try to bring as much as possible, single jewels to this country and create some momentum. And it's also very important to reward the people who do this with our award.
And it's also very interesting the fact that focusing on single works, you can also go deep into their meaning. For instance, here about Antea, I see that the exhibition curator was able to see how the woman face correspond with those of Parmigianino's male figure drawings. So there is a combination of male, female, androgynous, and a sort of androgynous idea that came exactly from, that was clear exactly thanks to this exhibition. And it's also interesting, I think, since you are speaking about restoration, to see how different are the technique and the ideas of restoration in the States and in Italy. So when you organize an exhibition, do you give also some information about the restoration, about the process, about what was before and what was after?
Well, this I think is a very interesting question. We don't do it as FIAC, but I think that in the museums, in each museums, when I see for them to show one painting is a big challenge, right? So when they do it very seriously. So they do it at 360 degrees. They talk about the painting, they explain what it is, they explain the period, they explain the painting, they explain the story of the painting and how it happened, and obviously also how and where and how come it was restored. So yes, there is a scientific work that is made around this, and I am a little shy to talk about this because this is not my job. You know, I'm a fiction writer. I'm not or a journalist, so I'm not an art historian or a specialist of restauro and so on and so forth. We are specialists of bridges. Try to put together two, you know, the restorer and the curator, and try to create dialogue. But then they do the dialogue, you know, because it would be highly incompetent if we would say something. And I must say that Olivia, when we did the book, understood this very well, right? I'm proud of this catalog, because every painting is described properly. All the people who wrote in this catalog are competent people, and so it's not just you know, done like this, putting together. It has been a long work. We were sometimes not pleased one with the other. Sometimes we had little fights. I said, you know, you have to redo this, and she did it, and then I had to talk to Daniele and say, listen, I think we should ask. So it was, even this little booklet, it's done with a lot of care. Maybe we could have done better, but I am quite proud of it, because not only because we have this in the cover, but because we care. You know, I think what is the aim of our foundation is quality vis-a-vis quantity, right? So we try. For instance, I would go and visit Professor Rosanna, and I would say, listen, which painting would you really like to give, to bring to America, or to give second life to this painting, you know, or to, and sometimes we, you know, for instance, at Brera, when, you know, in Brera, you know, there are so many fantastic paintings, and the director said, I would like to bring the Cleopatra of Cagnacci. At the beginning I said, listen, why Cagnacci? We have plenty of other Raphael things. He said, because it's important to do Cagnacci in the United States, and so on and so forth. And he was right, because we did a cultural, it's not a discovery, but we brought, abbiamo tirato fuori, no? Someone who was a bit forgotten, you know, not enough praised. And then in Cincinnati, obviously, they gave to it a lot of importance. And then it was also interesting, because we created the event, to have this triangular life between the Istituto di Cultura, the Frick Collection, the Metropolitan, who in the same time showed, you know, the same artist, Cagnacci. Another thing that we do, for instance, which is quite interesting, Keith Christiansen at the time at the Metropolitan until a few months ago, who has been very helpful for us during all these years, said, you know, do you know a Caravaggio, you know, one of the last Caravaggio that is in Naples, in the museum. The museum, we think, belongs, the painting belongs to a bank. What is this bank? You know, and then it happened the bank was the Banca Intesa. And so what do we do? It happens that I knew the chairman. No, the story is different. Harvard, at the beginning, the Museum of Harvard said we would like in this exhibition to have this painting. So I talked to Banca Intesa, and they said, Then I talked to Keith, and he said, oh, this would be great, because we have the other painting at the Metropolitan, so they will fit perfectly together, and so on and so forth. So I called again the bank, and I said, you know, for you, an operation like this to be in New York, but they were tough. They said, this is good, but you have to bring another Caravaggio from the Metropolitan to Naples in order to exchange. And at the end of the day, we did it, you know, and so things happen, you know someone somewhere, or Finaldi. I met Finaldi, for instance, in Madrid, because I am sorry for our friend Osanna, but one of my favorite museums is the Prado in Madrid, and because there are beautiful Italian paintings. And I said, you know, we have this guy Finaldi. He's Italian. He takes care of the Prado. Now he's in London National Gallery. They have fantastic Italian paintings at the National Gallery too. Let's give him the award. You know, he's a prominent Italian. I don't know if you will be able to bring him back to Italy one day. This is up to you. But so this is a bit how we work. You know, like the paintings. You know, single stories, single events. And what we really like is when people ask you. You know, Colin asked for the Antea, and then he said, why not the Schiava Turca, you know? And then we said, yes, but the catalog is very expensive, how can we do, da, da, da. But then we realized that one of our board members is originally from Parma, Gabelli. So we went to Mario and we said, listen, can you make a little personal effort for the catalog, you know, and as he's from Parma, he was pleased to please his original city, and so we were able to make a beautiful catalog, and so on and so forth. So it's a very lavoro artigianale, you know. It's not big bureaucracy, you know. It depends. Each painting, each museum, each thing has its story, and that's what we like to do, right? Because we don't want to have 50 people working for us, you know. We like to work together. And
it's interesting that there is just one image of a contemporary art in the catalog, because we are dealing in the other cases with paintings from Renaissance to Baroque age. In this case, what happened?
You see, at the very beginning, we didn't have, you know, that what this is like a marriage. When it lasts for many years, it's nice because you have a long story, right? Here, it was not the very beginning, but it was a little bit at the beginning. And we had, you know, we questioned, we said, should we do also contemporary art? And as we failed with the MoMA to bring Piero at the MoMA, we asked the MoMA, you have the PS1, the Museum of Contemporary Art, let's do something with them and see how it works. And we did an experience. But then Daniele and I, we talked a lot and with some of our board advisors, and we said, let's not spread too much, you know, let's not go let's work on old masters. This is, you know, I mean, contemporary art is very much into the market, into the auctions, into the collectors today, nowadays, and also because we do an educational work. I mean, you know, young people have a small, and this is interesting for the one painting. I interviewed a man who runs a museum in Shanghai, and he said, you know, young people have a span of attention of 20 minutes to visit a museum. 20 minutes. So obviously 20 minutes for one painting is okay, 20 minutes for a museum is a lot, is not okay, right? So probably we had the the good idea for the world of today. But old masters are not as expensive and not as popular as some contemporary art. I have nothing against contemporary art, but I think we should keep alive the old masterpieces, you know, and to teach to young people, you know, and I was impressed, and I haven't achieved this. Maybe some people in this room can help. Many years ago, I went to I was teaching at Oxford, and I used to go to the Ashmolean, the museum in Oxford, where there is a Paolo Uccello, Battaglia Paolo Uccello. And I saw, you know, the Paolo Uccello and plenty of children around the painting with a professor, with a tutor or someone was explaining to the children the painting, and they were all like this looking at the painting, right? So I thought, you know, if the teacher is a good teacher and the painting is masterpiece. The children like to live and this is an education, because if we lose classics, if we lose humanities in our universities, and you know it better than me, you know, people unfortunately only give money to technology, to high tech, to all this, and they already have a lot of money. And instead they lose, they don't give enough money to the humanities. The humanities are shrinking in the universities, which means that the quality of the professors is less good, and this is the end of culture. You know, if we lose the humanity, we lose everything. So we should be very careful in keeping it alive, and museums do this exceptional work to keep it alive, you know, and this is what we believe in, and because we believe in education.
I think that
and I didn't finish, and I will finish. I would love to put together all the Paolo Cellos. One is in the Uffizi, another one is in the Louvre, you know, one is at the... can you imagine to put them all together in one room? That would be a fantastic exhibition, right?
Yes, it will not be...
It's too big for us
exactly.
and too big for me, but it would be a great thing to do.
Yes, I think that it's a way of traveling not only in space, because you are moving the paintings, but in time. Since you are moving these paintings that help people to go back, thanks also to the framework, the cultural framework. Because it's true that we are in a multicultural world, but it's very flat. We are living really a sort of global presence where everything is similar from one country to another. This travel to other time, other styles, other cultures that maybe you don't know, people do not know, I think it's really education, it's the way we should work. Also when people go to the museums or experience art. So my last question is exactly this. How did the people respond to this project? I mean, they are not, many of these paintings are not the most famous paintings you could imagine, like even Paolo della Francesca or the Cagnacci, for instance. So how people respond? Did you have a success in the answer people? People came, understood the message, and was fascinated by this project?
I want to say two things. One will not be very popular, and you see, dictators, they can do what they want, right? And in 1940, Italy sent to the United States, in California first, and then at the Museum of Modern Art, the most important Italian masterpieces, from Florence, from everywhere. I mean, paintings that now could not even change room. They were sent, and they went back to Italy in June 40, a week before the declaration of war. Can you imagine? I mean, the paintings could have been stored here and lost, maybe who knows what. But at the time, if the government or whatever decided that it was good for the image of the country to show, they were traveling, right? They send them around. So I'm not nostalgic of that, but I think that the fact that nowadays paintings can move more and that you can see them is very important, because the physical importance, the physical experience is important. And nowadays we all have in Instagram, in whatever, on the phone, we can see all the paintings, we can visit the museums. It's okay, it's good, because it's for people who cannot travel, who are sick, who don't have the money, whatever, it's certainly a good thing. But the real experience, you know, it's so important. that's why we did a book. And why did we did a book? Because it was a response to the pandemic. In other words, we were speaking for 2 years only on Zoom, telephone, never see each other, never touch each other, and instead we said, okay, let's answer doing something very physical, like a book, you know, an object that exists and that you can have in your library, you can look, you can read, and so on and so forth. So I really believe in the, I mean, you wouldn't like to have a partner in your personal life who is only on the internet, right? I mean, we like better to see, to touch, to caress, to exist, right? I mean, the families, they couldn't see each other for years. You couldn't see your children because they were somewhere else, or you know, I mean, it was really terrifying. So it's true that we compensate, but I am also against the remote work. You know, I may be archaic, but I believe that people should, because it's true that it's more convenient, sometimes it's easier, but you lose the community, right? You lose, think how important were the squares. In Italy, in the main cities, there are the squares, la piazza. And Sunday morning, people used to go to mass and then meet outside the church and chat and, you know, have la piazza. In Italy, la piazza is incredibly important, right? And which means what? That people need to talk, they need to see each other, they need the feeling, you know? And I am against, unless it's absolutely necessary, the meetings that only take place, you know, say, oh, let's do it by Zoom is the same. It's not the same. It's not the same. And the same is for paintings, and the same is for art, and we like to bring the painting, especially in those cities who do not have. I mean, can you imagine Birmingham, Alabama, with the drawings of Leonardo? I mean, for them it was fantastic, right? Like in Cincinnati. So you said Cagnacci. Why do we eat Cagnacci? Because, you see, the point is very simple. I interview people, for instance, for the newspaper La Stampa, every Sunday. Sometimes I interview a very famous person, you know, that everybody knows. Sometimes I interview an equally important person, maybe even much more important in the job he does or whatever, that people don't know, right? And so what is my purpose is to make them know what they do, but it is the same idea.
And people understand.
You know, so sometimes you bring, non so, la Madonna di Antonello, which is an icon that everybody knows, but sometimes you bring a Cagnacci that is less well known, right? But it is also important, because, you know, culture is made of layers, and as you said, the world is too much on an equal level, you know, and you only want the big star, it's okay, but the big star is an excuse, a pretext to see also the others. You know, I remember, and I finish, when I was in Paris many, many years ago and worked in publishing in Paris, there was Umberto Eco book, Il nome della rosa, the name of the rose, who was extremely famous in that very moment. And many Italian writers were angry about that. They said, why Umberto Eco, why is he so famous, and And I remember that I used to say with other friends, one was Dacia Maraini, we said, you don't understand that Umberto is bringing us outside, that he, being translated in so many countries, he's Italian. Also other Italian writers who would not have the chance eventually will be known and translated sulla scia di Umberto Eco, no? So sometimes è importante che ci sia la star, il capolavoro assoluto, ma anche perché è un viatico per gli altri, per cose meno note, e anche per istituzioni, because obviously la Biblioteca Reale di Torino is not the Uffizi, right? But they have Leonardo's drawings. you know. La Biblioteca Nazionale, if you like music of Torino, there are all these partiti di Vivaldi. Nobody will know that this is, but you know, they are there. And so it's good to take them out. They're not in Venice.
No, by the way, we have the Spartito of Lucia di Lammermoor just in the entrance here out of the door. So this is
you understand what I
yes,
mean,
understand
right? So
perfectly.
this is a bit our purpose. Obviously, we try to have some masterpieces, and we will have, I hope, in the future year or months, one of them, you know. But
we will not say.
we are not to say
Okay.
which one.
I'd like to ask the public if someone has some questions. We are here with Alain, but with also Daniele Bodini. So maybe someone is. And by the way,
There are two questions.
I'm very happy to say hello to the Vice Consuls, Cesare Bieler and Riccardo Cursi. Thank you very much for coming.
What is?
The story behind l'Annunciata. Oh, sorry. Yes.
What
Yeah,
story?
was the story, the choice behind l'Annunciata? Where did it go?
You think that she needs a story?
No, no, why? No,
Why-
where did it go? And
How?
You
yeah,
know, the word is, it's interesting. He said that there is slow food and there is slow art, right? And there is slow wine. And the Metropolitan had imagined an evening with a company called Planeta who makes very good Sicilian wines. And they wanted to have a big evening in, you know, in the Egyptian part of the museum. And so in order to follow the Egyptian part, we thought of Antonello, and there was one Antonello from the Wildenstein collection, Wildenstein. There was an Antonello from Cefalù, l'uomo senza il volto, and from the Abbatellis in Palermo there was this painting. And so they went together. This was not only one painting, but there were 3 paintings at the Metropolitan, following this big dinner that was given by the Planeta people, and there we gave the first award to Professor Paolucci and to Keith Christiansen. I mean, it's not a very cultural explanation, but that's the way it was, because the cult doesn't need explanation. I mean, Antonello's this painting doesn't need.
There was another question just behind it.
Yeah, thank you. You were talking about, you know, the first 20 years of bringing.
Can you
Italian
speak a
art.
bit louder?
Yeah, you were talking about bringing Italian paintings, right? New York for the first 20 years, right? And can you give us a brief preview? What should we expect for the next 20 years? Or maybe at least for the next maybe 2 years, you know? Do you know what's in the plans?
I just said that we want to imagine. I launched the idea now, you know, to put together all the Paolo Uccellos for a great museum. That would be one idea. This is a dream, you know. I mean, to have ideas, you have to be simple, but you also need to dream. And sometimes dreams come to a conclusion. When I met Colin Bailey 20 years ago at the Free Collection, I asked him, which would be your desire? And he told me the name of a painting that I cannot tell. And I said, oh, fine. So I tried to have the painting. And they said, you know, this painting cannot move, unless, you know, there is a huge amount of money. And then I said, how much is the amount of money? And they talked in terms of millions. So Colin said, you know, that's not possible. Then the director of the museum changed, and millions became hundreds. So at that moment, we started thinking that there could be a remote possibility to do it, and maybe very soon we will do it. So it took 20 years to achieve a dream, right? But maybe we will make it. So, I don't know. In these coming days, we will have discussions also with our friend Professor Rosanna, and I will ask him, what is your dream? We cannot bring Pompeii in New York. This is a bit, it's a bit difficult to bring Pompeii, but no, it's not difficult. Okay, so we will bring Pompeii to New York. What? What? Pompeian paintings. Well, that would be a great achievement. Okay, so we will work on that. You see, that's the way it is. We have proposals that come, and then to have Pompeii paintings would be fantastic. Or maybe there will be other things that we would love to have, and things come. Our policy is never to push, not to say we want. This is very much Daniele prudence and intelligence. He's an ambassador, so he's a diplomat, to say, let things come when the time is ready. And so I can't tell you what we will do, but I'm sure we will do things. Sometimes we don't do them. We have a proposal, for instance, about something that we don't want to do, Sometimes we don't want to do things. But our rule is quality. Not that in Italy there's everything is quality, right? A lot of quality. But, as Fabio pointed out, there is a fil rouge. I mean, we like portraits, we like single paintings, and we will keep on doing that. And according to the needs of the Italian museums, or to the desires of the directors, and according to the American ones, we will see. Because tastes change, I mean, I have learned in my recent visits to museums and publishers that people don't want anymore what they used to want 10 years ago, right? The world is changing. So we will have to consider that. Obviously, if he tells we can bring the paintings of Pompeii, this has time. It doesn't have, it's always modern. I don't know if you ever went to a place where Almerina in Sicily, where there are all these. I mean, there are women in bikini. It's a fantastic thing. Women in bikini at the Roman times, so the world has not invented anything. They come back. They keep on coming back.
Have you seen Maria Teresa Cometto, who was going to say something?
Hi. No, I was only willing to give you a piece of information about Pompeii. It's possible not only to bring paintings, but whole frescoes. And there is right now a beautiful exhibition nearby on 84th Street and 5th Avenue at a branch of the New York University with actual frescoes from Pompeii, from the Museum of Naples, and so that's a demonstration of the willingness of
what? Demonstration of
willingness by art curators, museum directors, and so on to collaborate and to move things. I think that the director of Italian museums know about this initiative of the NYU, of course.
I think the director will have to talk. If he wants to say something, join us. It has nothing to do with what we did.
No, yes.
He is the awardee of this year, and he is who he is. We have a great opportunity to have him with us. If he wants to say a few words about Pompeii, and you're most welcome. Would you like to join us? You were not prepared, but we will be very pleased.
Thank you for the kind invitation. Of course.
You should.
Oh yeah. Okay. So. Thank you for the kind invitation. I was very happy to be here for this award, and also for the first time the Italian Institute of Culture. This is, of course, so from my point of view, so there is all the support of our museum for this. In the cooperation with FIAC for us is very important.
Thank you.
So you have we can talk, but painting Pompeii it's an opportunity. I think it's also the time to point the attention on Pompeii after all this this great Pompeii project of the last 7 years. But of course there are I think maybe we have also to give attention to the archaeology. And of course there is not only Pompeii in Italy. There are incredible pieces in the Museo Nazionale Romano, and now we are also there is a new with the PNRR Recovery Fund. We are a lot of funding in order to start also a project about our storeroom. So 19% of our masterpieces are in the storeroom. So we can really also cooperate with this material that is not there is not the iconic one, but also wonderful pieces. So there are a lot of opportunity, and I believe in cooperation, believe in international cooperation. Our museum has to be open to the community, to the cooperation. So also in this moment with me, it's possible.
Thank you very much. So you see again, life is made of people di buona volontà e di capacità. Allora, there are there are airports in the world, in some parts of the world, where most of the time they are closed because of bad weather and planes cannot go or come. And suddenly the weather opens and the plane can go and come. So we have this opportunity now, it has been just said, and so we hope that with this new possibility we will do many other projects, because we have created the network with Italy and America. We have created, as I said, friendship, understanding, trust, and therefore we will try to take the opportunity, and to understand if some artists or some things have been forgotten. And for instance, archaeology, I mean, there is the most important museum in Naples, that we all know. Then there are the museum in Rome and other museums. I mean, archaeology is very, very important in Italy. I mean, let's only think about Sicily, the Magna Grecia. It's extraordinarily important. So, so we are here. Olivia Da Ponte is open with her notebook to receive phone calls and then move around, and see what we can do. So
and
thank you. Yes?
I think that it's a great, as a conclusion of this evening, to have this message. Because once the power in Italy was someone who was going to tell you, no, it's not possible. The power was closing doors. Now to have someone who has the power, because you are the director of the whole system, who says it's possible, this is a new Italy, and this is a great way of closing the evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Fabio. See, he is so right, because when I began the first time to be in the ministry, I wanted to do something with a Caravaggio, and there was someone who had power, who has no name obviously, but I used to say, we should do this. He said, now it's April, it's almost summer, so let's talk about in after the holidays. I said, okay, so I'll come to see you in September. He said, come in November, it's okay. Then he said, there's Christmas now, and so we'll see. But there is Easter, and things did never happen, and because that was a mentality, to preserve or whatever. When I arrived at the Egyptian Museum in Turin at the beginning, it was not even written that there was a museum. There was a piece of paper with a scotch tape with a pencil, and it was written, you can come from 12. And the people didn't want to have visitors. So the first thing I did is to put a plate, you know, with Museo also in English. They made 2 mistakes on the plate on purpose, and it took 6 months to be able to have that plate, until the other institution, l'Accademia delle Scienze, which is another very illustrious institution, said maybe we should do it too. You know, after they have said, how come you ruined the palazzo, why do you do this, you know, it's impossible. At the end they did it. So things can happen, can happen. So thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Alain.
Thank you, Fabio. Thank you.